Hey, loves. Welcome to the Psychic Sages, where we discuss all things psychic development, spirituality, and Reiki. My name is Megan, and I'm joined by my lovely co host, Linda.
Hi.
We're so happy to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us when we'll be discussing cleansing.
So I want to start the episode by sharing that we have already recorded about 40 minutes of this. And we needed to stop and do a cleansing, and we needed to do a quick protection because our mics kept cutting out and everything. Like our tech just stopped working. So um, let's hope for a second try, a better try. Uh, I did find some energies around that I needed to cleanse, so that was interesting. That's where we're gonna start the episode. Let's talk about what do we cleanse and why do we cleanse, and why is all of this important? So, when we're talking about cleansing, we are speaking about cleansing ourselves and our own energy fields. We're talking about cleansing our spaces, such as our homes or maybe our workspaces. Could also be your car, depending on whichever space you want to cleanse. And we're also talking about cleansing objects such as crystals, tarot cards. Maybe you thrifted some clothing or you bought some furniture, you acquired some furniture somehow. All of these things fall under the umbrella of refreshing energy and needing to cleanse. It is important because our homes and our own energies, as well as the energies of objects, are their own little energetic ecosystem, if you will. I'm sure you're familiar, or a lot of you will be familiar, or have memories of going into a room where people have been fighting and there's no conflict happening the moment that you walk in, but you feel the leftover tension in the air, or you walked into a space and the energy kind of felt off. And that's exactly what we're speaking about when we're talking about cleansing. It's removing all the little energetic bits and bobs that are left over from our interactions with one another, maybe the way that we speak to one another or to ourselves, maybe the thoughts that we have, or certain actions that we've been taking. All of these leave little energetic imprints in our environments and in ourselves. So it's good every now and then to go in and to cleanse out, to keep a fresh set of energy all around. You might feel that you are in need of a cleanse or your energy is in need of a cleanse by feeling like you can't fully relax in your home anymore or in your environment anymore, or you think about some kind of conflict that you've had and it's sort of like it stays with you, the energy of what was said kind of stays with you, and you feel like like you can't relax. There is an absence of peace in the energy all around. Those are the kind of scenarios where you feel like, okay, it might be good to hop into a cleanse. To give you a bit of an outline for the episode today, we will briefly touch upon the topic of evolution of cleansing just very briefly. We're going to talk about the process of cleansing, what are the steps to take. We will give you a list of cleansing methods that you can try out. And then at the very end, we're going to talk about our experiences with cleansing. What do we use to cleanse? Because it's often a combination of things that we will bring forth in the list of cleansing methods that you can try. And we have a little special extra coming your way next week, a little treat to round off this episode, if you will. So, when we are talking about the evolution of cleansing, it's important to know that you, much like we spoke about in the protection episode, whatever you may use for cleansing now might shift and change. Your needs shift and change alongside your own development, the ways in which you grow, the ways in which you expand, what you are interested into, and also just in general, you might feel drawn to one specific technique at one time in your life, and then it goes a bit into the back burner for a while, and you focus more on another technique. And later down the road, maybe technique number one that you once felt so drawn to, you feel like you want to reconnect with that. So, the list that we're giving you today is by no means complete, and it is by no means a full on guide to how to cleanse if none of these things resonate with you. We would like to ask you to filter everything that you hear today through your own intuition and see what resonates with you. Maybe you want to try out some techniques and you notice, okay, that doesn't quite feel like my vibe. It's not really up my alley. Something feels like it's not fully aligned there. Then you shift into looking at something else. And that's fine. Girls alongside you. So be open minded to whatever presents itself to you. So, Megan, do you maybe want to talk a little bit about the process of cleansing?
Yeah, I think it's simple, but so important for us to be mindful of. We collect all of the items that we're going to use for our cleanse after we decide what we want to use as a technique and quiet ourselves and make sure that we're fully present in the act of cleansing. Um, when we begin the process, it'll be like a little ritual from beginning to end. We want to be fully um, intending that we cleanse the object or the space or our own person, or if we're offering services for others, cleansing another person, and carry that out fully to the end. Something important that I want to include with cleansing, even though the action itself is not cleansing, when we cleanse ourselves or other people, we're releasing things, and that leaves energetic space that we want to fill. And we want it to be filled with our highest and best energy available to us. So there are lots of different things that we can do to fill ourselves up after we finish cleansing ourselves. It could be a visualization, it could be just an intention or a prayer. And it's just making sure that our energetic bodies are completely filled with our own energy and the best energy that we can have, the highest vibrational energy. And we'll jump into more specifics now. That's a really good process to keep in mind as we talk through all of these other elements that we'll get into.
Sure. I'm gonna start us off on the list, and I'm also gonna share a little personal experience when I what I mean when I say filter things through your intuition and take what resonates and drop the rest. And much like I shared in the protection episode, I also started my journey with cleansing with panic googling because there was an entity present and connected to me. I have shared that story in my episode about my journey of intuition. I'm going to leave it down below for you. If you're curious, you can go and check it out. I don't want to retell the story every time. And I landed on burning herbs. And I feel burning herbs is a space where a lot of us start working with cleansing. It's, I think, the cleansing method that's most often recommended for everybody. And then we got burning herbs, but also, of course, like burning wood, like Palo Santo. You could also burn pine needles or cedar or work with incense as well, if you feel like it. Herbs that you might want to burn are sage, rosemary, and thyme. And I do want to remind you to please keep it as local as possible. You will gather the most or the best possible outcome by keeping it local. You might even look into older practices from your area, maybe looking a bit into folklore, what has been used in your area before. The reason that I say that is because when you look at cleansing, something that's very, very highly recommended is to use white sage, for example, as cleansing. And for me, for example, I'm located in Europe and white sage is not readily available around me. And white sage also has a connection to the cultural practices of Native Americans. So I like to use sage, but I use the regular sage that I can grow in my garden. And I have never felt that was insufficient or not what I needed. Again, with rosemary is my go-to herb now that I use for burning if I feel like burning something, and just be mindful with the practices that you're using. The same thing with Palo Santo. It's also part of a ritual and a practice that I am not a part of. And it's something that I do have at home right now, but only because others have gifted it to me. So it's something that personally I don't really buy. I would go with pine needles because, again, that's what's around me. And that is what has been used more traditionally speaking around here. So, speaking about the practical aspects of burning herbs, you might gather some herbs or you might even buy some fresh herbs at the grocery store, whatever resonates with you. That's what I've been using when I lived in the city and I didn't have a garden. I would buy the regular rosemary in the packages for cooking, and it had kind of like, I think it was like 3 to 4 sprigs of rosemary always, and it was the perfect amount for me. And you would get some twine, and you can bundle it up really tightly and make the twine, put the twine all around, and then hanging it up to dry. But you can also just let it dry individually with sage as well. The leaves are often quite bigger, so they can be really nice to then have one leaf to burn. When it comes to the burning, you can burn if you have the full on little bundle of sage or again rosemary or thyme. You can light the whole bundle on fire at the very tip. But you might also, if you have, let's say, an individual leaf, you might want to get a fire safe container and just place the one leaf inside of this and then burn the leaf, whatever feels right for you. You will let it burn for a few seconds, maybe 20 seconds max or something, depending on how it burns. Then you will. Um, I'm making the hand motion right now with a sage to
Okay, I have an
to
idea.
what's the
Extinguish.
word? Oh my god! Thank you so much. See, to extinguish the sage. To extinguish the flames, and then you have the smoke that's coming off, and the smoke is the actual thing that will do the cleansing. So you will, if you cleanse your apartment or your home, you will walk through all of your rooms into every corner. You want to open the cupboards to make sure that you have a little bit of that smoke energy going in there. If you want to cleanse one of your closets, do keep in mind to maybe not put your sage immediately in there so that the clothes that you wear tomorrow are not all smoky and smell like it, but just keeping it open to allow the some of the smoke to go into that general area with the intention that you want to cleanse it is really all you need. And in terms of how many times you need to walk around and which direction you need to walk around, you will find different opinions about that when you look at it online and look at different ways of people doing that. Sometimes you will see people going through every room and they will do like three clockwise turns in every corner of the room, and some people do three turns counterclockwise, and then they go into the next room, and some people do the entire apartment once and then they do three turns or one turn. See what resonates with you, feel the energy, just try it out, and yeah, just see what resonates with you. And I feel like that's the most important part. And in the beginning I said that please filter every piece of information that you hear through your own intuition, and I have a personal story to share with this. In my panic googling and finding, of course, burning herbs, burning sage, I was looking at a bit of a protocol and exactly the steps on what to do, how many times do I need to go through each room, etc. And when I looked at that, what I found was someone sharing the method of cleansing. And they said, before you begin, make sure to open up your window so that whatever, just, like either opening it completely or just cracking it open a little bit so that whatever you're releasing can leave through the window. And I remember reading this and feeling kind of almost like dumbfounded because in my mind, I was like, I don't think that's necessary because the energy did not get in here because my window was cracked, you know? So for me, that part felt kind of useless and unnecessary. And so I didn't use it. And that's to say that anything that we share or that you might read anywhere, always see what resonates with you. I'm not sharing that to make fun of the person that feels like they need to crack the window open because it's right for them. You know, like it's right for them. That's perfectly fine. It's just two different ways of going about it. But for me, it was like I know the energy didn't come in here because the window was open. So by default, the energy can leave without the window being open. So that was kind of like my thought process about it, where I was just like, yeah, no, that's absolutely not for me, and it felt like a full body no, a full body like, oh no, that I don't need that. So keep that in mind. On the topic of herbs, we also need to speak about sprays and infusions when it comes to oils and also herbs. Megan shared a little bit about a practice that they have used and are sometimes still using with having rose water and spraying rose water in different areas of the room. Megan shared that in the episode about protection. Sometimes you will find with the methods that it's almost like a two in one, a little two in one method where it's cleansing and also protection at the same time. And with the sprays, you can use all of the herbs that we already spoke about. You can use the sage, the rosemary, the thyme, or if you want to add aroma oils, you could work with pine and cedar or anything else that you might come across that feels right for you. On that note as well, even when you are Googling a list and you will find 20 ingredients that you could use, and you feel called to use one ingredient that's not on there, but you very strongly feel like that's the right thing for you, listen to yourself and choose the right thing. That little thing, even if it's nowhere written on the list, it doesn't matter. Then there is some kind of personal connection that you have with that, maybe from other experiences and other lifetimes, etc. Trust that. So, how can you practically use a spray? You might want to brew a tea. Let's say you want to boil some water, or you have boiling water and you pour it over your sage, over your rosemary, over your thyme, and you let it seep. So you create a bit of an infusion. And once that's cooled down, you just take a regular spray bottle and you put it in there. You walk through your room and you set the intention that by spraying you want to cleanse. And then you spray however many times you want to, whatever feels right for you. And it can be really useful sometimes to see the mist that's going into all of the corners, right? A lot of the methods for protection, for cleansing, but spiritual methods in general are oftentimes very focused on visualization. And we will talk about that at a later point. But sometimes it can be really useful to have something that you can physically see, so having the mist going everywhere can be the thing that you need in order to fully cleanse. You can do that kind of cleanse, of course, also for yourself. You could spray, let's say, the crown of your head or your third eye and just mist yourself in this particular kind of water. And I mean, you can do that with the herbs, and you can, of course, do the same with aroma oil where you just add it to the water and then you shake the bottle each time before you spray to make sure that it's properly distributed with the water. Another thing that you might want to use when it comes to oils and having oil and creating infusions, you can look into creating oil that's enriched with sage, rosemary, and recipes for all of that at your own leisure. I want to add mainly if you have some aroma oil that you want to add to, let's say, a body oil that if you take a shower and you want to cleanse yourself afterwards a bit more, that you can rub some oil and like massage yourself a little bit with the oil while setting the intention that this is cleansing you, right? You can do that. You might even feel like taking a little dab or one drop of the oil and putting it on your temple, on your temples, maybe on top of your, at the very tippy top of your forehead, right underneath the hairline, at the center of your forehead. Maybe you want to smell it a bit. That might also be nice for cleansing, to do a little dab underneath your nose, right at the tip of your nose, so that you smell it. All set with the intention that you want to cleanse. And I feel that there is such a wonderful practice to gain with working with herbs and having other methods alongside being able to just burn things is also very useful because I mean, Megan and I, we do this work professionally. So for me, I've moved away a bit more from burning, but it's mainly because I cannot keep burning herbs in my space like several times a day. like, at all times. It's not really practical to live in that kind of environment because I don't, enjoy being around smoke that much. Alright, and speaking about smokes and fire, Megan, do you maybe wanna talk a little bit about candles? That
Fire.
was the nicest segue that I could have brought to you.
Nice, very nice. Yes, candles. It is a good segue into other, fire the element of fire-based cleansing and something physical. So, like Linda mentioned, it's really nice to see the smoke. It's really nice to see the mist if you're using a mist. Really nice to see that oil that you're infusing, that visual and that physical thing that you're using to cleanse. And a candle can work the same way. So it could be a candle and you're using the flame from the candle. Um, it's a beautiful mood setter to light a candle. So, depending on what you want to cleanse, um, you might feel that the ritual of sitting in a cozy space, lighting a candle for yourself, especially the time of year that Linda and I are in right now, autumn, moving into winter, a candle is a really nice thing to work with. And you can use the fire from a candle, or you could have like a small fireproof bowl or something that you could use fire inside of. Writing things about yourself that you might want to release onto small pieces of paper. Maybe it's in relation to something in particular. A relationship that you've just gotten out of, which was quite negative, romantic or otherwise, a job that you feel really infuses you with a lot of negativity, or maybe negative thoughts that you're having related to a certain issue. You can be really creative with this. And again, intention is key. So creating that sacred space where you're lighting this candle and you have your fire or your container that you'll use to set the intention that whatever you write on these pieces of paper, as those things come to mind, your intuition can be a beautiful guide when you start opening yourself up to what it is you want to release. What comes to mind, you can write that down, see that word. It feels like you're moving that emotion or negative experience from the internal to the external. And then you can put it into the flame and watch it be transmutated, and see the physical act of it being burnt and released from you. So you could do this inside of a candle flame, or you could also, um, I've used like even matches where I have a piece of paper and I light the paper and let it burn. That's a really beautiful ritual to use. I like that.
One thing to add here, since this is a re-record, we both got we both got an intuitive guidance last episode or in our first recording run, and we're gonna repeat it. I'm rambling already. Is that
We're with you.
someone here has just experienced a lot of conflict or conflict that kind of weighs heavy on you, and, if that's you, take a piece of paper, write down, "I am releasing the energy connected to that conflict with that person," and then you burn that. And that will help you release the energy connected to a specific kind of conflict with another person in your life. Maybe you just had a fight with someone and that's where you're at, or it has been like a few days ago, or maybe even a few months ago, and you feel that energy kind of still lingering with you. Maybe something specific that they said, you could even write down the specific thing that they said about you or to you, and you don't want to hold it in your energy anymore, and it has been haunting you, it's been on your mind and you've been thinking a lot about that. Write that down, burn it. That's your way to cleanse it easily. So another substance that I feel very important to talk about is salt. Megan, do you want to talk about salt, or do you want me to talk about the salt?
I want to talk about it. I'm not afraid to talk about it.
All right, take it away. Do we need to give some context? Yeah, maybe,
Yeah,
right?
we do.
So, in our last episode with the protection, We had lots of interference coming in with salt, where Megan had like a huge coughing fit and everything else was fine. That's the moment where our video and audio started to really like start to cut out, and the same thing happened just now in the recording that we had. So, Megan, third times is a charm. Talk a
That's
little bit
right.
about salt.
We've done our cleansing and our protection, so let's prove that this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, salt. Um, Salt, the way that I've used it, is for cleansing a space. And it's simply filling a small glass. I use shot glasses and I use sea salt. And I fill glass, a small glass with salt, and take a moment to gain presence of mind and set the intention that I ask this salt to absorb anything from the space that I'm cleansing completely, to remove that negative energy from the space and to hold that inside of the salt. And you can cut these little glasses filled with salt. You can set them in the corners of the room that you want to cleanse, or the entire home that you want to cleanse. You can put them at the four corners of your bed where you sleep. Whatever it is that you want to cleanse exactly, you set that intention with those little glasses of salt. And depending on how thoroughly you want to feel that these energies are absorbed and removed from the environment, you could leave it for a couple of days. You could leave it for 5 days. You could leave it for a week. And then what's very important is that you take the salt that you have in these glasses when you're finished, and you have a little bag of some kind that you can throw away. And you just take all of the salt and you dump it into the bag, so that all of that salt is then contained in this bag, and you throw it in an outside garbage can. Don't throw it into your garbage can inside of your home. Take it to your outside trash can and you can throw it away. I have read information about burying salt on your property and having a ritual related to like allowing that to go back to the earth, and for the earth to then transmutate whatever's inside of that salt. And I would encourage anyone who's interested in looking for other techniques to go and take a look online and see what's out there from reliable sources. It's important that the ritual resonates with you. And beyond using salt this way to cleanse a space, we can also use salt like in a bath. And I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, there are all different types of salts and salt baths that you can use. You make a nice bath for yourself. If you do Reiki, you can use Reiki symbols inside of your bath. You could also use oils, like Linda was saying before. So you can kind of make a mixture for yourself that's going to be for your body. And then you go and sit inside of your bath and you set intentions about what it is that you want to be cleansed or purified or removed from yourself. Take a little soak and feel renewed when you step out. There are also shower bombs. You can even find recipes to make things like this, where you just take it's like a little salt cake that you put on the bottom of your shower, and you get your shower going. And then as the hot steamy air moves on top of this little cake, it like lets the steam rise up to you and the salt move up to you. And so you can also set the intention that that salt inside of this shower bomb is releasing whatever it is that you'd like to cleanse from yourself. Those are beautiful ways to use salt. Anything that you would like to add, Linda?
Salt scrubs. I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like
Yeah, go ahead.
pamper yourself, create a little salt scrub for yourself.
Absolutely.
That can be really nice. Like Megan said, you can create a combination of creating your salt scrub. You can put your essential oils in there as well, and you work with the salt. And can also often find in your regular grocery shops shower gels that have salt. For example, I have one that
Mm.
has salt. It's really inexpensive, and it's a nice way for me to get a little extra salt in there, because I really feel the difference when I'm using it versus when I'm not using it.
Yeah,
So,
those are great ideas. Salt is really a potent cleanser.
yeah, definitely.
And we know it for things like, if you have a sore throat or like inflamed tonsils, you can gargle salt water. So keep those kind of visuals. We know that salt can really cleanse and how it stings in a wound, and use that kind of feeling of being a very strong cleanser when you're using this. It's really effective.
Yeah, I had one more thing coming to mind, which is interesting because I haven't thought about that before, but using a neti pot.
Oh,
Right, it's
yeah.
you creating a little salt solution and, it runs, like, through one of your
I love
nostril and
that.
out the other one. Things like this as well can be really nice, can be really helpful.
I love that, yeah.
Which brings us already into working with water. We already touched on that with the salt and the shower.
Right.
Water can be its own thing where you are showering or you are taking a bath and you're swimming in the ocean or a lake or a river, or even just soaking your feet in water, could also be salt water. It can be really amazing. The thing with water as well is you can set the intention that this washes it away. You could bring, if you wanted to, some visualization into that. I know we will talk about that a bit more in the moment, but when you're in the shower and like the water is running on top of your head and then like all over your body that you see or you feel, set the intention that this will wash away anything that's not beneficial for you. And you can set the intention even without visualization, and that's what the water will do for you. And I think an important aspect that we already started to speak on is you can ask the salt, you can ask the water, you can ask anything that you want to work with to please cleanse you. So it doesn't even need to be like a full on intention of I'm cleansing this. You can ask, please cleanse this.
Mhm.
If you go the route of, actually, it doesn't really matter which route you take, always good at the end to be thankful and just say, thank you, water, thank you, salt, thank you, fire, thank you, herb, thank you, sage, whatever, you know? Um, I wanted to add that as well. And with the water, same with the water that you're drinking. You can set the intention when you pour yourself a glass of water that you are using this water to cleanse your insides, that you're cleansing your body, and set that intention with it. Same thing goes with infusions. It's the teas that you can take or that you can drink. Again, like you can mix and match all of these different methods together to create something that works for you. So, Megan, since we already touched on visualization, do you maybe want to speak a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's nice that we've uh, addressed all of these physical ways of cleansing. So, visualization is a wonderful tool, especially for someone who's clairvoyant and has a very strong psychic ability to see with what we say is the third eye. That's not really me. I can a little bit. So, for someone like me to speak about visualizations, I think that's a nice happy medium because I'm not the strongest clear seer, and these techniques still work for me. Um, Talking about candles or fire, you can visualize the same thing. You can go into a meditative state, visualize any type of fire that you see, like if it's a beautiful room that you're in with a fireplace, or if you're sitting outdoors overlooking water with an open fire pit in front of you. Um, the really fun thing about meditation is the longer you do this, the more you can be kind of like delightfully surprised about what comes to mind when you sit down with the intention to cleanse with fire in a meditation. And you can let yourself sit and kind of discover what your imagination brings to you. And Linda, I don't know if this has been your experience, but my experience is that when I feel called to do a meditation that is not a guided meditation that I'm listening to from someone else, but just a journey I want to go on for myself. I say, I want to cleanse with fire. I'm going to go into a little meditation and I'm going to just discover what comes up for me. I'm delighted by the environments that I find myself in when I look around in my imagination. I'm delighted by like the type of fire that comes to me. And in the end, when I'm finished with that meditative ritual, it feels very much like that was the best way that I could have done that cleanse for me. Do you have that experience at all with this?
So the way that I'm laughing already because the way that you're speaking about it is very, very peaceful and zen. And I'm not saying that mine are not zen, but whenever I do go on these trips, they are trippy.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, they can get trippy for sure.
mine, mine
For
are
sure.
usually very trippy. I agree with you, however, that when I feel called to do that, I always discover something along the way, or I always feel like it was the best way to do something because then it's like there's no guided meditation that I have access to that could take me down the route that I need to go down. So I feel like for me, that's the biggest part. I have done some meditations for visualization and cleansing before. Most of them use light, which I really enjoy as well. It's I think cleansing with light is almost, in spiritual terms, a universal experience or universal kind of a meditation that you can find. Visualizing yourself, filling yourself with white light, golden light, or any other color that feels right for you, and doing the same with the space that surrounds you. Really, really beautiful, really, really important. Megan spoke about fire, but you can use any element that comes to mind.
Yeah, I
You
can
could
jump
work
in
with.
with other elements as well. I was just interested to hear um, your experience with feeling that something really beautiful came out of a meditation that you did that just felt so on point for what you wanted to
Yes.
do. And when I say beautiful, I don't necessarily mean calm, because absolutely. And that's where this can be so wonderful that, like, you walk in feeling intensity and the meditation takes you in that direction, and you really have, some transmutating of like emotions that you bring in with your
Yeah. I
your
mean,
intention as well.
to nobody's
It's wonderful.
surprise, the main element that I'm working with is indeed fire. So, that's why I think that's why it was on the forefront of your mind, because that's what I just did before we started recording for the second time, was the fire, and I shared about the fire and what happened in my little space that I went into. Because, I'm also clairaudient, so, I pick up on a lot of things when I'm doing cleansings like this with visualization, and I see entities being in the space, and sometimes I hear them say certain things. If we're going into that route, I'm a very, very visual person. I always have been, and it's something that works very easily for me and with me, and
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, visualizing works very well for me too, and it's very attuned to me, of course, when I'm going in to meditate for something like this. So,
Yeah.
your element is fire. I really do work a lot with fire, and I have for a long time. My element is water, so I do a lot of visualizations with water. Um, for anyone who's listening and feeling like, oh gosh, where do I even begin if I go into my own meditation? There's so much available out there that is free in terms of guided meditations. And a lot of what I've come to do for myself, for my own personalized meditations, comes from inspiration from other guided meditations that I've listened to. So please do not feel like you should start uh, cold turkey, so to speak, where you just like sit down and meditate and come up with your own ideas. If you're feeling daunted by that, then by all means, take a look and see what's available in the way of guided meditations. I've just been inspired with water in terms of sometimes I feel I want to submerge myself completely underwater, but in a way that feels really safe and liberating to me. And it could be an ocean, or it could be a lake, or it could be a pool of some kind. There are all different ways that I've done this. Or sometimes I visualize myself sitting on a bridge and draping my legs over the bridge with like very fast running water pulling along my feet. And I can just feel things being sucked down through my body, through my feet, and then out with the water and being cleansed that way. Rain is very cleansing. In fact, actually, just physical rain outside. If it's raining and you feel like you want a good energetic cleanse, you can throw on a waterproof coat and go stand outside and let the rain wash things away from you, just like you would in a shower. Yeah, you can be creative with this. There's also air, and I've worked with that a bit too. And I just wanted to mention, in conjunction with visualizations, animals. I just had something come to mind which made me want to speak to meditations that we might go into, let's say with the intention to cleanse, and find that there's an animal there. Like we're looking around and it's like, oh, dragon is over here. And then you realize dragon would like to assist with this cleansing. And so this can happen sometimes, that maybe an animal shows up to assist with a cleansing. Dragon is an animal that often shows up for me to cleanse. There are these Sixt, the like rental car company Sixt,
Yeah.
that has their cars around. But there's this one Sixt rental mini truck, and on the side of the mini truck is this like black background with a fearsome dragon on the side of it. And whenever those, it's so funny, every once in a while I'll look out of my apartment window and there's like a sixth rental truck with this dragon on it right outside of my window that I look at, and it just sits there for a bit, and then it'll drive away, and I know dragon's like, hey, you can call on me, and I can come in and help you cleanse some things. So you might go into meditations and see that there's an animal that shows up that would like to assist you with cleansing, and be open to that. I've heard people talk about cleansing with unicorn energy, and I've heard people cleansing with, what was the other animal that I wanted to speak to? Dragon with fire. And there are all different types of dragons and elements that they work with. So I actually have an air dragon that I work with, and that brings me to air. Whenever I cleanse with air, I call on my air dragon. And that's a really beautiful way to cleanse, like the throat chakra or the heart chakra are associated with the air, the element of air. So you can cleanse like mental thoughts or worries and ruminations with air. Just the phrase in English, clear the air, what Linda was talking about before, having an argument take place in a room and walking in and feeling that argument in the room still. Um, this is like in the air, in the ether. And so working with the element of air, like an air dragon, could be a wonderful way to visualize clearing the air in a space or inside of yourself.
I feel like you've already moved into working with your team of light or deities or animal
Yeah.
guides to support the cleanse. So maybe let's continue around that trajectory for a moment. You can, of course, connect with your team of light or any other deities that you feel called to ask them to support you in this cleansing process. Whatever it may be, if you feel like maybe you've gone through a few rounds of cleansing and you feel like you can't fully get rid of something or something kind of still lingers, you can always ask them to see if they can assist you with the cleansing. And I'm going to keep it as broad as this because whoever you might feel connected to work with is going to vary broadly. If you need inspiration, what you can do is again go back into a meditative state, allow yourself to calm your mind, and you can set the intention that you want to know which deity is willing to assist you with cleansing. And then just listen to what comes to you
Hmm.
or whatever you might see. Also important to note, like Megan shared the little story with the truck that's outside. You might not necessarily hear the answer right away in that meditation. It might come to you a few days later or within the next few weeks, where you will hear a specific name of a deity dropped over and over again, and you've never really connected with them before. Or you will just, through nudges of the universe, see images of them popping up everywhere, or your eye is always drawn to it. So, be open to all of these different ways in which they might come to you. Might even be a dream sequence where you connect with a specific deity or a specific animal. Perhaps you hear a name of one of your spirit guides or someone, a spiritual being that's on your team of light, whatever resonates with you. You could even look into the Ascended Masters and see if one of them is maybe your go to Ascended Master that you connect with, and ask them if they are the ones that can support you with the cleansing. So be open to that assistance. You don't have to do everything on your own. Really important to say. And on that note, just briefly to mention as well, we kind of started talking a little bit about that before we started recording, is how the different methods of protection are connected to your spiritual evolution and your spiritual journey in terms of how much assistance you need or you don't need and what the right path is for you. Because Megan and I were speaking, and certain things that work for me don't work for them, because we are learning different soul lessons. For me, for example, calling on someone else to support me with the cleansing is something that my guides really needed to hammer in on me. Like they really needed to drag me to the place where I'm accepting support with cleansing, right? So for me, it's something that doesn't really come natural to me. Exposing myself here, but that's fine. Very self-sufficient, very
Be vulnerable.
self-sufficient. Yeah, very self-sufficient. Let me do everything myself. And learning to be supported in that way was a lesson that I needed to learn along my evolution of cleansing and along my journey of learning cleansing, where calling them in is something that is very, very important for me to do. Alongside all of the other things that I use, and I know for Megan, for you, I know it's a bit different, right?
Right, it's almost the opposite. So, it's interesting because I have an issue with control, so you'd think that actually, like, I would have to learn to surrender, but maybe I kinda went off on the deep end because I had big lessons to learn with surrender, and I've done that. Now the lesson that I'm learning is, take control of this for yourself. Maybe it's more like I'm afraid when stakes are high. So when it comes to cleansing and protection, I always feel like these are high stakes because I live in a home with children. It's very important to me that our home is always a safe place for all of us to be and a peaceful place for all of us to be. So I take this very seriously. Maybe my lesson is, and you can handle that responsibility, Megan. You can do it all yourself. So that I mentioned this in our last episode. I was shown in a dream. You know what? I've been having wild dreams, and I won't go down that rabbit hole. I've been having wild dreams, all related to this topic. And Dream has been showing me just kind of undeniable, I can't ignore it kind of dreams where I wake up. I'm a little bit terrified from the dream, but the message is stop asking other people to do this with you, and other people being primarily Archangel Michael or people on my team. Stop asking for them to do this for you. And then I was shown in a dream exactly what it is I can do and how it works and what it looks like. And yeah, I've been using a method which requires me to take all of that into my control and do all of the cleansing and clearing and protecting myself. And that is, almost the bookend opposite, sorry, Mike, of Linda, and that's
Yeah,
we're
yeah, I'm
the two
like
of us
head
are
through
like a
the
nice yin yang sometimes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
oftentimes, let's be
Yeah.
real here. I
Yeah.
mean, they don't know us that well yet, but like oftentimes yin yang, it's a bit wild. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like head through the wall, let's go, let's do this. Come on, I got this. I'm gonna figure it out along the way,
Yeah.
very much so.
And I'm like,
And for me,
What's going on out there? I don't know if I
yeah.
can see in here."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're a
Guys, you
good
with
team
me?
when
Come
it
on.
comes to this.
Yeah. So,
For me,
the point is you might assume that the evolution would be in the beginning, you get a lot of help and then you move to like standing on your own, right? There are lots of assumptions we can make. Throw your assumptions out the window, ladies and gentlemen, and
yeah.
people and beautiful humans. Throw those assumptions out the window. Whatever's coming to you, that's for you.
Yeah, and again, it might shift, definitely. Okay, let's move into the next method, but I felt like that was a good little thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about using sound or vibrations to cleanse, and I'm gonna share a little bit about that. So, you could use singing bowls, for example, wind chimes or cymbals to cleanse your space, or any other specific kind of music that you feel would be cleansing. You might even have a hand pan that you like to use for cleansing or that you can use for cleansing. And of course, having the instrument physically there is great, but you can also do the same with a video, where quite literally you're taking your laptop or your phone or whatever, you play any kind of tune that you can find, a cleansing tune on YouTube, since you might already be on YouTube, or you'll find cleansing music on Spotify as well, or yeah, we are on Spotify, right?
We're
Or
on
yeah,
Spotify, of
yeah,
course.
we're on Spotify. Um, so anywhere else you might
Yeah.
wanna find that, you can look for the kind of cleansing meditative music, and you play it and you walk around your space, your room, or you just listen to it yourself. One note, if you're listening to it yourself, putting on headphones to really immerse yourself in that energy or in that sound is highly beneficial. And you could even do a cleansing nap if you wanted to, where you set the intention, you put the music on, it's nice and relaxing, and you say, okay, I'm allowing this to cleanse me now and cleanse this, and when I wake up, I'll be refreshed. And that's your intention that you have with the music. You allow it to do its thing, and then otherwise, you're good. So, we already started to speak a little bit about using Reiki for cleansing. Megan, do you want to share just briefly a little bit about that?
Yeah, let's just briefly share in general the power of Reiki for cleansing. It's a beautiful tool. And for anyone who does use Reiki, then you'll know there are lots of ways to use it for cleansing spaces, for cleansing people. You can send Reiki to objects um, near or far. It's really a universal tool to be used in all different kinds of ways, and for cleansing in particular. So you can cleanse a space with Reiki. You can cleanse yourself with Reiki. You can cleanse another person or an object with Reiki. And for anyone interested in that, please hop online, read a little bit more about that, and see if it's something that's interesting to you.
Yeah, yeah. Only thing to add there, I have found that Reiki was or is the most potent way to cleanse when it comes to entities. It's what I've
Mm.
experienced. Again, I'm not saying that as an absolute, because depending on what your belief or faith system might be, there are different rituals in place surrounding cleansing, etc. But as someone who does house cleansings also professionally, Reiki is the number one thing that really makes the difference when it comes to helping entities and energies cross over and leave a space alone. So it's almost like a one stop shop. Um, let's speak about, while we're talking about cleansing, and more along the lines of objects. You already touched upon how we can use Reiki to cleanse and purify objects. Maybe we want to dive a bit deeper into something that a lot of spiritual people can connect with, which would be having crystals and needing to cleanse your crystals. So,
Hmm.
how do you go about cleansing your crystals?
For anyone that's new to crystals, first you're like, what's interesting to me? And then you get your hands on crystals, and then you start realizing, oh, I'm supposed to cleanse and charge these things. How do I do that? So I do feel that reading online is going to be your best friend, but it's important to know that there are some basic ways that you can cleanse crystals. I want to give a big shout out to a podcast that I got lots of my information from, and it's a resource where the two women who run this show called Psychic Teachers, and we can throw that into the show notes. Um, you know, it's in the name, Psychic Teachers. Truly, you can go and you can feel that you've gone through like psychic courses with them based on the information that they share, and also a plethora of knowledge, just histories of where this stuff comes from and research based things as well. So I'm going to throw that out there. Samantha Fay and Deb on the show. I'm blanking on Deb's last name, but the two of them love crystals. They do a lot of work with crystals. So, one resource that I could point all of you into the direction of would be Psychic Teachers. And their show's been going since like 2008, I think. And it's just, a backlog of tons of information about crystals. Um, a lot of crystals end in the letters ite, like selenite, angel light. These crystals with an ite at the end, they're particularly sensitive to water. So do not cleanse those crystals in water. But almost any other crystal, you can easily Google to check if you're unsure, can go into water to be cleansed. You can put some salt and some water in a bowl, and you can put your crystals in that to cleanse them. Um, you can cleanse them in moonlight. Just track and see when a full moon is approaching. A lot of people say that they cleanse their stones also under a new moon. So you'd have an option every couple of weeks throughout, the month. You can put your crystals on a windowsill under the moonlight and just ask that crystal to receive that energy of the moon to be cleansed by that. a really cool tip that I heard, and I don't remember which episode it was, but it was psychic teachers and someone who works with crystals who studied geology and taught as a geologist and then went down the spiritual path and got really interested into crystals and the work they do. The way they cleanse their crystals is with sound. So we're bringing in vibrational sound cleansing, like Linda was just talking about. I've got myself a tuning fork, and I just hit my tuning fork on my kneecap to get it vibrating, and I hold my crystal and I just move my tuning fork around the crystal, and I can feel myself. I'm very clairsentient, so I can actually feel. I turn the stone over sometimes. If it's a point, I can hold it, and I can feel when the crystals kind of shed whatever energies that they've been holding on to that are preventing them from being in a cleansed state. Those are some nice ideas, but yeah, do a little research, and you will hear Samantha and Deb on Psychic Teachers talk a lot about a book that I don't have and I want to have someday. It's high on my list, by a woman named Melody, like singing melody. And she is like the crystal guru. She's one of the really good sources. So you could check out Melody's work. And she has a couple of like encyclopedias that she's done on crystals if you're really, really interested in that. Anything
The
else
only
you want to
thing
add?
yeah, I've been, mainly using sunlight.
There you
So I
go.
don't really feel drawn to cleanse my crystals with moonlight, but, the morning sunlight is what I primarily use to cleanse.
I think this
Also
makes
have been
sense given you're a fire energy, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
And
Yeah,
I'm a
no, that's
water
true.
energy and a moon kid, you
Yeah,
know?
I haven't thought about it
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, that does make sense.
I love that you said that.
And, I've also been using Reiki, of course, to cleanse, like, everything.
Of course.
Let me talk a little bit about cleansing, your tarot cards or oracle cards because they can also hold energy,
Yeah, tell us about that.
particularly I mean, if you're reading for yourself, but also when you're reading for others, you do wanna create a little ritual of cleansing, and the same way as it is for crystals, you can use everything that we've just listed for your tarot cards. You could work with moonlight, you could work with sunlight, you could work with salt. I would be a bit more careful, and water. I would be a bit more careful. But you can work with sound and you can work with visualization. So you hold your deck and you visualize them in white light. And when you feel like that was enough, then you fill it with golden light. You can even, if you are a Reiki practitioner, put some Reiki symbols on the deck. That's what I primarily use. I use the first symbol that you learn. Yeah, the first symbol that you learn, that's the primarily the one that you use in between readings as well, because it's like it's a very quick drawing of the symbol, and then I know everything is cleansed. That's the main one that I use for this. And if you are buying clothes secondhand, or let's say you bring in some plants from the grocery store. What? From the grocery store? I mean, maybe. From the plant store.
Sure.
Why did my mind go to grocery store? That's really funny.
Are you
Okay,
hungry?
anyway, you bring in yeah, I am hungry, but yeah, you bring in some plants into your new home, or you are buying some furniture, you're getting some furniture, maybe secondhand, whatever way the furniture may come to you. You might also want to cleanse that before you fully bring it into your house, or when it's already in your house, you may want to cleanse it. Ideally, when it comes to furniture, you kind of want to cleanse it before you bring it inside, but um, you know, trust your own guidance with this, trust your own intuition, because all of these can hold a lot of energies from other people.
Mm,
When it comes to the clothing, of course, you can work with burning the herbs and then you smoke it. You can wash it afterwards. I mean, it's always good to wash clothes that you buy secondhand first before you wear it anyway. You could also set the intention with the washing that you do, or you could put some little aroma oil on there, even a little bit like you mist it a little bit, the same way that you would your space. You could just soak it in water, just getting it wet, set the intention that the water will cleanse everything out. Depending on the fabric that you have, again, like with salt, I would be a bit more careful. Depending on which kind of fabric you got going on, I would check to see if the fabric is capable of handling dealing with salt. And visualization, you can visualize that with light the same way that spoke about the tarot cards. And you can do the same for any physical object that you get. I think for cleansing physical objects, something like saging or having something physical alongside it can be really, really nice, as a bit of a ritual before you bring it in. Let's say, I don't know why, but my mind is showing me like and someone bought an antique mirror. I see, I want to see what it looks like. It has like, it's like a bit of a gothic mirror, and it's like elongated and has the like little tip. I don't know what the name is in English. I only know the name in German, but
What's the
whatever.
name in German?
'N Spitzbogen.
No idea what it is in English.
Alright. So anyway, it has like a proper tip, that from like if you ever look at any gothic kind of windows, it has the particular shape, and that's kind of what I see for the mirror. And it has like a dark brown backing and thick brown trim all around. Anyway, okay. My mind won't leave me alone with this. All right. So if you have that, you could take some sage and you burn the sage or any other herb that you have, and you move it all around on all the sides, really important front, to like really cover the whole entire front of the mirror. And you do the same around the back, and you get every single trim, the top and the bottom, everything covered in the sage with the intention that you want to cleanse it. And of course, when you are doing your regular cleaning a mirror can be really, really helpful just in your day to day life. Or, maybe you do that weekly, and maybe you throw a little herbal infusion in there before you cleanse with your proper cleanser for the mirror glass, right? You could spray it and leave it overnight to do its thing, and then the next morning you wipe it down with your regular glass safe, mirror safe cleanser that you have. Your commercial one, I should say. That's the best word to describe it. Um, I found particularly furniture or acquiring furniture. I also should put jewelry in the same category.
Mm,
Furniture and
yeah.
jewelry particularly are very strong holders of past kind of energy or past kind of vibration. If you're thinking about jewelry in particular, it's something that you wear. It's often something that's given as or bought as a special kind of gift. So there are lots of emotions connected to the gift already. Maybe it was a relationship that at some point fell apart, or maybe a partner passed on. Thinking about like wedding rings or something like this.
Mm, yeah.
There's a lots of emotion connected to jewelry. Again, all of the same energies apply that we just spoke of, all of the same methods apply that we just spoke of. And furniture as well can carry a lot of energies with them. And in doing the work that I'm doing of house cleansing, I have come across a few instances. I don't think I shared that with you yet, but I've come
I don't think
across
so.
quite a few instances where there were entities or energies connected to one specific um, piece of furniture.
Item
Item, exactly. It's, like, really connected to it, it's attached to it,
attached
it's
to
in
that.
there. Yeah,
Mhm.
attached to it, it's in there, and,
Linda, would you venture to say that when people talk about something like a haunted chair, have you ever heard of people talk about things like
oh,
this?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've experienced that as well.
Yeah. So would you say that
Yeah,
that's like an attachment?
yeah,
Yeah.
safe to say, it's an
That's my
attachment.
assumption.
With that, if you are someone who's experiencing that, you can try and give it a sage and see what works, and you could try all of the other methods. However, if it's an energy that feels really malevolent, you might wanna hand that over to someone who does that professionally, right? You can find many people online. If you have such an inquiry, you can also write me an email if you feel called to. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there. You know, with the cleansing, it's like most of the time we know that it's working because everything calms down and we feel like we can be peaceful in our space, or feel peace, or our space feels peaceful. We feel peaceful, and like we can let go. We feel safe, and oftentimes that's also how we know when it's not working, because we still feel
Yeah.
the same amount of tension or a specific kind of tension, feelings of uneasiness in a
Yeah.
particular space or inside of ourselves. And you
If you're
might even,
clairsentient, maybe like trouble breathing, like your chest is
yeah,
a bit tight.
yeah, true. Feelings of anxiety maybe even also
Yep.
rising as well,
Yep.
particularly if it's over a longer period of time. You might feel that it almost like layers on. You do a cleanse and
Yep.
maybe it feels a little bit calmer, but not really to the degree that you wanted to. You
Yep.
will likely have some kind of entity energy around
Oh, I
or
just wanted
connected.
to add because we haven't talked about claircognizant ways of approaching this, because I'm very claircognizant. So sometimes you might suddenly feel like someone's there. You might be in the middle of cooking,
Oh,
and you might
yeah.
suddenly be like, "I feel like someone is there," and not because I physically feel it, but it's almost like I have a sudden thought. There's someone behind me. If that thought keeps coming up, you know, randomly and you can't figure out why, that could be an indication that there's something around.
Yeah, I also noticed it when, I mean, also hearing from clients, it's you want to sit down and you meditate, but you're almost afraid to close your eyes and fully relax because you're like, it's almost like you don't feel safe to perceive everything that's around.
It's the worst,
You
yeah.
just got a full
It's the
on
worst.
if you're listening right now, Megan just full on, like, their body crumpled in and of
Stuck my
itself, and it's like
hands in
the
my
shivering, and
armpits.
it's like, "Oh my god, I
Ugh.
remember that feeling." Yeah,
Yeah,
that can also be an indicator. It's always good to
yeah,
think about why do I feel like it's not safe to let go
yeah.
now. Also important when you're, going to sleep, what kind of dreams do you have on a regular basis? What's happening before you sleep or as you fall asleep when you wake up, these kind of in between stages.
Yeah,
Perhaps you feel, like, really uneasy to sleep and let go because it's like, "Okay, I'm, like, in my unconscious state, and it doesn't feel like I should be there." These are all kinds of indicators for entity activity.
and that a cleanse could be very helpful.
Yeah. Seeing shadows out of the corners of your eye or
Yeah,
seeing full on some, like in your dreams, seeing some entities or
yeah.
depending on what your psychic senses are and what the main avenue of messaging is that you usually can rely on, you will get some kind of knowledge. And it's usually like a little subtle and we're like, yeah, no, I'm making this up. It's not like I don't think that's really the case. I
Every
don't think
time.
so. It's like a feeling it's still like just to be fair, it's still happening to me and it's still happening to Megan and we do that professionally.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Where there is this phase of like, yeah, I don't really know. I think I'm just making it up because,
Just
I do this stuff
imagining
for a
things.
living and
Right.
I'm around this all the time. So I think I'm making it up, but there will be clarification for sure coming your way one way or another to let you know that no, you actually do have something going on and you do need a cleanse.
Yeah.
So if that's the case and you tried your little methods or you tried a couple of different things and it's not really working for you, always feel comfortable to reach out to a professional. Someone who does that. There is no story that you can come um, and bring that someone will laugh at you. I think that's like a huge hurdle to step over is the fear of being laughed at for the experiences that you've had because they
Mm,
were outside of the box and they were
mm,
outside of the norm.
yeah.
So if you're reaching out to someone who does that professionally, please like just share everything that has been happening. Um, I mean, if you're comfortable with sharing that, of course, but know that you are in a space that is safe for you to share.
And I
And
would
it's
like to
important
add, sorry. Sorry.
it's important and it's important for the people to know what has been going on so that they have a better grasp of what to look for or perhaps an idea of who they might be dealing with or what they might be dealing with.
Right. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
No.
before you finished this thought, I wanted to add, um, and the person that you go to will not make you feel more fearful about this, and they will also not want to make you feel like you need to keep coming back to them all of the time. So someone who you work with
Yeah.
should make you feel that they want to empower you, and they should make you feel like this is manageable and it is not an uncommon thing to occur.
Yeah,
So
it's really
please
not.
go to someone who settles your fears, even if it takes a little time. They should be working on bringing your fear down, and they should be working on empowering you to feel that you can move on without needing to go back. Um, to someone else?
Yeah, I feel like we all have the ability to cleanse. We all do. And it's about continuing to expand our capacity to cleanse more and more things, or let's say more and more complex things. And you're along this journey, and sometimes you come up against something that you feel like is a bit over your head, right? You're a bit in over your head. And then you go to someone and you learn a little bit more, and you understand perhaps why this has been happening, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
not always an answer for why that's happening. It's not always readily available.
No.
But if that is there, it can already help you feel a bit more at ease. I also want to say when it comes to entity encounters, they can be scary as hell, of course. It's intangible. We've seen so many horror stories and ghost stories about lots of different things that can happen. So anything that's intangible for us immediately is a lot more scary rather than, let's say, something that's physically there. Not to say that humans aren't scary as hell, because they also are, and they definitely are super dangerous. Um, and and you need to remember that anything that's coming your way is coming your way in divine timing. So if you're having an experience that's super challenging, maybe it is guiding you, or one stepping stone on your healing journey and guiding you in a specific direction. So something that I might experience occasionally with a client that comes in, where entity encounters of a specific kind keep happening and repeating over and over and over again, it's usually because there is something from another life or another kind of attachment that is not healed. So, like, you can see it, it's not there to destroy you, and it's not primarily there to haunt you. It's there to almost like a pin in a on a pin board, letting you know that there is something that needs to be addressed, and it's happening and coming up now in the way that it is, because the time is right for you to address whatever is underneath it. And that kind of encounter or that kind of entity is just sort of the messenger to make you listen to it, to make you listen to what the underlying thing is,
Yeah, to get our
right? So
attention
it's,
and make us really consider what it is that we can learn from this, and that we
yeah,
will get through it, and that we can ask the
yeah,
universe to provide us with the right people and the right tools for that.
yeah, and the right information. So it's
Yeah,
something that can guide you along your journey. Okay, it's not
yeah,
something that's like, basically what I want to say is, I don't want you going around or about your life thinking that there are all of these energies out to get you, like
yeah,
hunting you down, or at every corner there's someone new or something else, and that's not the case. Okay, in these instances where there have been like multiple of these kinds of encounters, when people come back, um, it's because there is something underlying, and we find the underlying thing, and then that's the thing that needs to be healed and addressed, and then it calms down.
yeah,
So there's always a way. I'm just saying that to let you know that it's not always you go to one person and then it's like a one and done. Sometimes it's a bit more complex, but cleansing is a process. I think that's the best thing that we can share about this
yeah.
episode. It's a process. You, much like you clean your kitchen, it's something that you do, and then it's clean for a
Right,
while, and then you need to go back and you need to wipe everything down again.
right.
So on that note, maybe we can talk a little bit about what to do when you feel the fear, when you feel that there is an energy around and you feel very, very fearful of it.
Yeah, this is something that I really struggled with for a long time because I lived a very fear-based life about everything, and uh, this type of experience in particular was probably the thing I imagined since childhood as being the scariest thing I could ever encounter. So I asked Linda, what message do we want to impart to someone who might stumble across this episode, who knows when, experiencing something that's scary and they're feeling like they're not getting through it. And I love the message, Linda, that you just drove home. And that's really important here. And we want to talk a little bit about raising our vibrations. So, getting curious about what's going on with us at the time that we're noticing maybe what we would consider an entity being present around us or maybe in our space. Let's get curious about ourselves. And maybe we don't sit in our home around what is feeling so icky. Maybe we find a safer, more comfortable environment for us to get curious. Maybe there's a friend we can go sit with, or maybe there's a nice cafe. Maybe we need to pull ourselves out of that environment and just ask ourselves, what kind of activities have I been doing lately? Am I doing things that really raise my vibration? And by that, I mean make us happy and joyful and make us feel lighter and connected to love and wanting to connect with others. And if the answer is no, then if we haven't already cultivated a list of things that we know are our go to joy makers or peacemakers for ourselves, then we should start considering what type of music really makes me feel uplifted and calm. I'm going to listen to more of that right now. Or what place outside, where can I connect with Mother Earth and feel grounded? I'm bringing that back again. Please ground yourself in Mother Nature in any way that feels um, perfect to you. If it's taking a hike or going on a jog or working in a garden, there are a million and one ways and more to connect with Mother Earth. Um, oh, we have a big long list. Linda, do you want to add some more?
Yeah, I'm thinking if you're in the city and you don't have that much nature around, there usually will be some kind of little corner of a park where
Yes.
you can sit. Maybe
Yes.
instead of sitting on the bench, you can sit on the grass if it's possible, depending on the weather. And if it's not possible, you might want to just sit on the bench, or you might want to sit down and lean against a tree with your back and allow the tree to hold you a little bit for a while. And I would also say if you want to shift your energy, you feel like, okay, grounding is all nice and good, but the way that I'm feeling right now, like I need something that's a little bit more tangible.
Mm.
You could work with something like tapping, EFT tapping, for example, to shift whatever emotion or state that you're in. You can find lots of videos on that on YouTube. You could do some breath work, allow the breath to move. Now we're coming back to the air, of course, that we spoke about earlier in the episode. You could work with the breath and doing a specific kind of breath work sessions to shift energies. Again, if you're experiencing anxiety, you will find different methods online, also guiding you through. It doesn't have to be long. They're like
Mm-mm.
5 minutes breathwork sessions that you can find. You could, speaking about Reiki, since it is cleansing in and of itself and or harmonizing, balancing, you could look up Reiki videos online just to immerse yourself in one of those sessions. If you're looking for a resource, I have a personal channel on YouTube. It's called The Dark Alchemist. You will find lots of Reiki videos in my roster there and more coming. So you can do that, without needing to spend any money. It's always nice. You can put on some music, either I shared that earlier as well, the singing bowls that can be really nice, but any kind of music that makes you feel happy and uplifted. Maybe you want to dance it out a bit and you want to put on some goofy tunes, want to put on some 90s, some 80s, whatever fits your vibe. You want to put that on and dance around your apartment. Maybe you want to immerse yourself a bit into creating, drawing something, writing something, whatever your vibe may be. Maybe you want to craft or you want to create some clothing. Anything that shifts your energy to feeling more joyful and feeling more present in your body. That's, I think, the main aspect of it.
And this can be a really nice mental state then to consider our steps forward in terms of, okay, how do we want to
Yeah.
approach this situation now? Not from a fear based place, but from a place with a little bit more clarity and mindfulness. I also wanted to
Yeah.
throw cooking in there, by the way, for anyone who loves cooking,
Oh yeah.
the act of finding a recipe and getting those ingredients and, yeah, losing
Put those
yourself
herbs
in
in there.
baking. I'm a baker. Yeah. Yeah, those are
Okay.
lovely ideas, Linda. So please, um, in moments of fear, and I've been in those moments so many more times than I can count, remember that you have a team, a very real team that you can call on to assist you with connecting more to your intuition and how you should be guided to move forward. and all of these tools and more.
So, to sum up this episode, find things that work for you, try things out that work for you, and I'm going to hand it over to Megan to share a little story about personal connections with herbs because we started the episode with herbs. We're going to end the episode with herbs.
Yeah,
So take
okay.
it away, Megan.
Uh, I had a past life come to me, and I became aware of the fact that this past life was on the island of Cyprus. Then I had these wild synchronicities with Cyprus, which blew my mind. And so it was very good validation that I was right in this kind of claircognizant knowing of it being Cyprus. And I took a very deep dive into Cyprus and its plants. I wanted to know a lot about um, not just the wilderness and nature, but specifically plants and plant medicine. And Linda's spoken about rosemary, but I um, read about rosemary and its uses on the island of Cyprus. And for the very first time, I finally felt like working with plants and plant medicine was really resonating with me. And it drew deep meaning because of this life that I had there. And I used it for quite some time when I was working on healing. There were so many layers coming up with this past life that I was working on healing. And rosemary was my go to plant during that time. And I kind of have a collection of things. I believe rosewater is also connected to many lives that I've had in the area of the world that uses and produces rosewater. And I think that's why I'm really called to use that as well. The other thing that I use is chanting, like Gregorian chants. And I had a past life come to me as a monk. Um, and I'm pretty sure that I either listened to monks chant a lot or maybe I did myself. I cleanse my space a lot with the Gregorian chants, which is comical because, I never did anything like that all my life. And then suddenly this past life came to me and I use that very often. Like blast Gregorian chants in our apartment. And it really makes me feel like I'm raising my vibration. But I wanted to drive home the message of anything in your current incarnation, especially, and like Linda said, connecting to the earth and the place that we come from, or maybe just an intuitive nudge about something that you feel called to. There might be a story behind that, and it might have more potency for you. So never feel um, put off if someone is trying to convince you to use something that doesn't speak to you. Um, our Linda and my experience is that it's really individualized, and we've said that over and over and over again. And I really feel like those things that connect with our souls are the most useful and the most valuable.
Beautifully said. So we got something a little surprise coming your way next week because we
Mm,
will have a little guided meditation to guide you through a self cleanse. You can try it out, and again, if it doesn't resonate, you can look for another resource. But that's coming your way next week. And we wanted to leave the episode by asking you to share how you are cleansing. And you can leave us a message, you can write it down. You can find a link in the show notes and in the description box. Yes, I need to think about where we're posting this. And you can write it down, whatever you want to share, so that we can open up again the space. Because, like we said, it's so individual, the kind of rituals that we're using, and what works for one person doesn't work for another. And you've only heard two voices today out of all of the many voices
right.
that there are. So, we'd love to hear from you what works for you. And hopefully, I can find a way to accept voice messages. So if you want to send us a short voice message with your cleansing ritual, you can also do that. You'll find, again, link down in the show notes and in the description box. And thank you so much for being with us today, spending your time with us. And we hope that you found something useful in
Me
today's
too.
episode. So excited to see you again next time. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.